Hey, Manifest Bay, and all of the beautiful people listening to this podcast. My name is Jacqueline Chyi. I am your host, and today I will be interviewing Colleen Greene. She is a author, and she writes books about self-love and um, I guess what is it? Can you tell me the right way to to describe this
Okay.
this genre?
So I say romantic suspense. Um,
Romantic suspense.
yeah.
Okay, so she writes books about romantic suspense. I actually own two of them, and I am so happy to be able to experience this intense and interesting story. Okay, so Colleen is going to tell us more about that today, and also more about being a self-published author and some of the things that go along with that. Um, this this book that we are going to be talking about today is the Amber Milestone Series and her passion for writing. Okay, and so if you read part of Last Words, then you then you'll be prepared for the rest of the Amber Milestone series. Okay, and so Colleen, can you tell us more about yourself today and who you are, where you're from?
Okay, sure. So I'm an author, as you said. I grew up in Newburgh Heights, Ohio, and now I live in the Miamisburg area. So I'm familiar with Dayton area and all those places also. Um, I have always loved to write since I was even little. My dad had a typewriter, like not a laptop, but an actual typewriter that I used to work on. And I need to find out where that typewriter went because I would love to have it. One of my brothers and sisters might have it. I'm not sure, but I used to literally type on a typewriter. Um, the young listeners probably don't even know what that is, but
I know
before
what that is,
laptops,
but
before laptops, there were typewriters.
yes.
Um, and that's what my dad had given me. And I used to, create stories when I was like probably, I'm gonna guess, probably started around like seventh or eighth grade, ninth grade, something like that for me. And I even found recently one of my old stories, and it was just cute to read because, of course, your writing isn't polished at that age, but it's still cute to see, what you think would be an interesting story.
Right.
Um, I had written some kind of science fiction fantasy. I know I'd written some kind of horror story, and so I have some of that writing, and it's just nice to hold on to, memorabilia, nostalgia. But so I self-published the Amber Milestone series, meaning I put all my own money into my books and invested in myself. If I was a writer who was under contract, that would mean that the publishing house pays me to write the books. Whereas in my situation, I'm putting all the money behind myself instead of the publishing house putting all their money behind me. And it's
Right.
quite normal nowadays for authors to be self-published first and then eventually get a contract later. And the reason behind that is because publishing houses nowadays want you to already have a built-in following and an audience and the readers who are already hooked on you so that when they invest in you, you're almost like a guaranteed sale.
Yeah, it's like social media changed the world, huh?
Right, right. So I would recommend self-publishing, but before you do that, I would recommend that you have a good editing team behind you. Even if you had a master's in English, it wouldn't matter because it's hard to catch your own mistakes.
Right.
I recommend Red Adept. It's I believe, EPT or APT, but it's Red Adept Editing Services, and that's who I use to help me with my grammar and proofreading and editing and all that good stuff. I
Okay.
don't have a degree in English, and even if I did, I'm not going to see my own mistakes because I'm too close to it. So
Right, right. I
definitely needed.
definitely understand that because among all of the things that I do most of the graphics for my brand as well. And I do like the caption creation and all that stuff. And sometimes I misspell things or I miss things because of typos or because of, spell check, like the automatic spell check and stuff like that. So it can be very difficult to catch those things because we can put a word that is actually a word and our system that we're using won't identify it as being wrong. So I definitely understand that can be a vital source for making sure that your book is seamless because you want it to be professional and polished, and that is a definite um, valuable suggestion that you're giving to our viewers.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I have not had enough
It's
sleep, I
okay.
think.
You're fine.
But anyways, I do want to thank you so much for joining me today.
Sure.
And I want you to know that it's always a pleasure to hang out with you
Oh,
and talk
thanks.
to you and get to know you more and more. We actually met at a workout event, and then ever since then we've been really, working together, going to lunch, things like that, and it's been a very pleasurable experience.
Oh,
And I highly suggest that we do something to kind of get your book out there and get it going outside of the podcast,
right.
because I love to do events, and
Right.
we can definitely do like maybe a book brunch or something like that. um so I love being able to spread the word about your romantic suspense. I kind of didn't know how to describe it, because it's a different type of writing that
Right.
is not just like mainstream. So can you tell us what romantic suspense is to you?
Okay, so romantic suspense has elements of both. It's exactly what it sounds like. It has romance and suspense. So I can tell you what my style of writing is and what I would think, say most styles of romantic suspense are. Most books that are categorized as romantic suspense are books that have the romance in it and then also have suspense. And then sometimes that can mean like suspense can mean there's crime involved or mafia. It can mean other kind of suspenseful situations. I mean, there's writers that do nothing but mafia books, or writers that
Hmm.
do nothing but like urban fiction, like dark, gritty urban fiction.
Right.
There's all different. Romance is the largest genre category of books is romance.
Oh,
It
that's
is.
news to me.
Hands down, it wins because if you really think about it, you got historical, contemporary, romantic suspense, what they call sweet romances, which don't get too hot and heavy, all the way to erotica, which is no limits, right? Um,
Hmm. Like I don't know if you know about Zane books, but that's what I grew up reading, like the Zane books. So
uh-uh. No,
you're gonna have to look into those.
okay. But there's all, there's all different paranormal romance. There's all different kind of romance.
Okay.
Historical is like usually like early 1900s, 1800s, whereas contemporary is like nowadays.
Okay.
Even my book is contemporary, even though the first book starts um, technically, 1999, and then has a flashback, the first book, Last Words, but that's recent enough to be called contemporary.
Right. Right.
So, historical is more, you got to go further back than that. A lot of times it's 1800s, 1900s, kind of around that general area. But yeah, I mean, basically, the first book in the Amber Milestone series is about learning to love yourself. So I know you're a big advocate of self love, and this book deals with that in an entertaining way.
Yes,
So
I.
yeah, it's very, my books are at times very intense, and it really
Okay.
draws you in. And because of it being so intense, you want to keep reading, which is what you want your readers to do, of course.
Yes, I love suspense. That is actually my thing. I've always been like into suspenseful TV shows,
Hmm.
suspenseful books. One of my favorite books growing up was the Lemony Snicket series of Unfortunate
Okay.
Events. That
Yeah,
was
I've heard
like
that.
my
Yeah.
favorite series. Oh my gosh, I read every one of them and I read it multiple times. Um, so I am a reader. I just do so much in life right now that it requires me to do a lot of reading.
Right.
So my reading outside of that is kind of limited because I mean my
Right.
brain needs a rest at times.
Right.
You know what I mean? But do you plan on putting this as like into an audio type of book or something like
Um,
that? A lot of people
maybe,
listen to those these days.
maybe in the future, but for me to do that, I'd have to put my own money into it, and I'm only going to do it if I get under contract and then they help pay for it.
Okay. Okay.
So for
Yep.
now, I'm going to say no, but in the future, who knows, maybe.
Okay.
Um, but so let me tell you a little bit more about book one, Last Words, and then I'd like to read a small section.
Okay.
Okay. So Amber, the main character in Last Words, book one in the Amber Milestone series, she learns to love herself, but she learns to love herself at the same time she's falling in love with Jack Hale, who's a
Okay.
handsome, wealthy, and charming man. The book is set in Napa Valley, California. So you get the spectacular views of the vineyards, but you also get Jack's family, which is very wealthy, very greedy, and that messes with their whole relationship dynamic.
Okay.
So it has family drama in there, romance, suspense. And then the section I'm about ready to read is going to give you kind of like an idea of my romance style, if you will.
Okay.
So I
I'd
will
love
do
to
that.
hear it.
Yeah. So this, just to give you some background, is when Jack and Amber take a hot air balloon ride over Napa Valley vineyards. So I'll start. This is from Last Words, book one in the Amber Milestone series. The grandiose plush landscape took my breath away as we were carried into the sky. Daybreak was upon Napa Valley. The lavender sky turned to shades of pale pink like an Easter egg swirled in dye, as the sun began to shed its light across the mountainside, revealing all its glory. Jack softly kissed my earlobe. I leaned into him as he moved my hair away from my neck and gently pressed his lips against it. He traced his hand down my arm until it rested firmly on my hip. I turned toward him while looking deep into his eyes. We kissed each other, letting our lips part. His tongue slid its way partially into my mouth, pulling me into the kiss. Our bodies were as close as possible. Heat radiated from them as our hearts pounded against each other. Just as I dove deeper with my tongue, he pulled away, ending our connection with a soft, lingering kiss.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
Um,
that gives you an idea.
so can you tell us the two titles of your books again?
Okay, so it's Last Words, book one in the Amber Milestone series, and then City in the Middle, book two in the Amber Milestone series, and I'm currently writing the third.
Okay. And so
So
where can our listeners purchase your book if they're interested?
it's on Amazon and it's also in Kindle edition.
Okay. Okay, so make sure that we get that information so that we can put it in the description and we can put the links to those books there, okay? And
Okay.
then the romance genre has many types. For example, like you were saying, the contemporary, the historical. I know that you write the suspense version, but what outside of self love is the theme of your book, like Last Words? Is it I know you were telling me that she finds herself, and then on top of finding herself, she falls in love. What inspired you to write about that, I guess, is my question.
So when I was developing the story and the plot and all of that, what inspired me was I was at a low point, and I was, not the happiest of places. And so I kind of looked inward and like, why can't I be happier? What's going on? What can I do different? Or, how can I fix this situation? And I think I remember when I was writing this book, I had the thought or I saw it somewhere and read it. I can't remember which, something like that. But basically, um, you know, that happiness comes from within,
Yes, it
loving
sure
yourself
does.
comes from within, and you can't be happy unless you choose to be happy. And nobody's life is perfect.
Right.
Um, you know, people tend to think, oh, well, rich people, they got it made. They have no problems. Well, how do you know that? You don't know. They could be in an abusive relationship for all you know. And abuse isn't always
Definitely.
physical. It could be verbally abusive. So
Right.
there's no marks or scars or bruises or nothing. And they're just hiding it from the world. I mean, money does not solve everything, you know. It
That is
helps,
what
don't get,
inspired me.
you know, money helps, but it's not going to fix all your problems. It's not going to make all your problems go away. Sometimes it actually brings out problems that you never had. Now you have because you got money. So it's not the cure all to everything, you know.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I mean, my inspiration to write Last Words was basically I was not happy at the time, and I wanted to figure out how to be happy. And to figure out how to be happy, you have to kind of find your happiness in yourself, your love for yourself, and all that within yourself. So the lesson Amber learns in Last Words is how to love herself. And loving yourself is important because, you know, it allows you to accept yourself, flaws and all.
Right.
If you're not accepting your flaws, you're letting your flaws bring you down, weigh you down, and hold you back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a good thing. So if you're weighed down by your self-doubt, then you can't let other people in to love you.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah,
I love that you're able to talk about that, and it shows how connected you are to your story, to your stories, I should say.
yeah.
Um, so what is the city in the middle about? Now we know about the last words. What is the city in the middle?
Okay, so City in the Middle, book 2 in the Amber Milestone series. That one is, instead of California, it's set in New York City.
Ooh, okay.
So you're kind of going
Both
from
places
one.
I am so excited about.
Okay, so you know you're going from one coast to the other, right?
Mhm.
So City in the Middle has drugs, murder, mafia, and they seem to be all around Amber.
Okay.
And so she's put in
What
dangerous
you know about
situations.
that?
Do what?
What you know about drugs, murder, and mafia, Colleen?
Oh no, it's all in my head. It's all made up. I actually to research how mafia people
Uh-huh.
talk, mobsters. I watched the whole season or all the shows of The Sopranos.
Oh my gosh, that is
I
so
did, and
cute.
of course that show can be very violent, very intense.
Hmm.
Have you seen it?
Actually, I have not. My
Okay,
my my son's dad used to watch it, but I wasn't really into it.
okay,
But I've watched other things. I've actually experienced some
okay,
similar
okay.
some similar experiences. So,
So I watched
yeah.
the whole series as book research to learn how they talk,
Okay.
and how they think. And I knew that I could write like a mobster would think. When I forget what show it was. It wasn't the first one. It wasn't the last one. It was maybe in season 2, I'm going to guess.
Hmm.
But the main character in The Sopranos, somebody had done something to piss him off. And I looked at my boyfriend and I said, well, he should get him whacked for that. And I said, there, I can think like a mobster now. I can write like one,
Okay.
because they are hot tempered, you know, uh, shoot you for stupid reasons. They're not like you and me. They're not nice, not nice at all. And the crazy thing is they see themselves as a businessman, oh, it's just business. Well, they see business as like, I'm going to get this person whacked because they didn't pay me on time, or
Hmm.
I'm going to shoot this person because they pissed me off for some
Hmm.
stupid reason.
Hmm.
They are not normal
I
people.
always tell people that disrespect is defined by the person you're talking to. And most
Uh-huh,
people do not understand that. People
yeah,
think that disrespect is universal and that we should all know what we can and can't do around certain individuals. But no,
uh-huh,
there wouldn't be any reason for social norms or social groups, you know, that
right,
if that was the case. And I had to learn that the hard way because I grew up in a way to where it was kind of taught to me that everybody was the same, and it took a long time to identify the differences in people, and to not take everything so personal, because taking things personal was based upon what I have been raised was disrespectful and respectful and blah blah blah. And so I've learned throughout my life to just read the room. Okay, read the room, because everyone is
Right.
different. And like you said, you could be dealing with a mobster, and something that I could say to you would be very much okay, but I could
Right.
say to them and they would be ready to whack me, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They're
So,
very temperamental and hot tempered. But so watching that show taught me to be able to get inside their head, which is kind of scary.
mm,
Because once you can think like that, you're like, ooh, this isn't nice. This isn't a good thought. This is just not,
right, but it also prepares you for the potential of other people that may think like that as well.
right.
So,
So it's so so in my book, City in the Middle, one of the things I do with it is let me get it right now. I will go from, the character Amber from her point of view. Like Last Words is from Amber's point of view.
okay.
And I don't believe I ever deviated from her point of view. I'm flipping through it. I'm pretty sure I did not. City in the Middle, however, most of it is through Amber's point of view, which is still, the main character, the female character. But then there's sections, I'm flipping through it now in City in the Middle. See if I can find it. There's sections in City in the Middle where I actually, like, here's one. Okay, it says chapter 40, Fiona, which is Amber's roommate. So that chapter is written from Fiona's point of view.
Okay.
So even though it's I this, I that, first person point of view, because it says chapter 40, Fiona, I shuffled ahead in line to buy a car to ride the subway. So that is from Fiona's point of view. You know that because it says Fiona after chapter 40.
Okay.
So you
So
get
Fiona is who in the book?
Amber's roommate in New York
Okay.
City. So you get
Okay.
Amber's point of view, you get Fiona's point of view, you get, hold on a second. There's another person too. I believe it's Jimmy. But you get different people's point of view in the story. And the reason I do that is because it allows you to know things that you couldn't know if you just had Amber's point of view.
Okay.
And so there were certain things in the plot that I wanted you to know that I could only have you know. Okay, Cam is Fiona's boyfriend, her roommate's boyfriend. You get his point of view. So you get Cam's, Fiona's, Amber's. And I do that so that you can know certain things that I want you to know that maybe Amber didn't know at the time, but I want you to know. You can only know if you see it through Cam's eyes.
Right.
So
Right.
that's why I did that. But it's very clear. You can easily follow because the chapter will start with, this says chapter 13, Cam, Sunday morning. Now you know that you're getting it through his eyes. Or the next
Okay.
chapter might say chapter, whatever, Fiona, or chapter whatever, Amber. So you know at all times who you're
Who's
seeing it
talking?
through. Yeah,
Right.
there's no confusion whatsoever. And it allows you to know what I want you to know, because all writers are controlling what you know and when you know it, on purpose. We
Right.
totally do that. And that's our prerogative and our right as writers and authors. But yeah, so there's mafia in there, drugs, murder, danger. And then along with that, of course, there's romance in there because there's a hot fireman in there. So there's that.
Oh, okay. Hot fireman. Okay.
And of
I
course,
love a
family
man in
drama.
uniform. My
Huh?
husband is, I said, I love a man in uniform.
Oh,
My husband is a soldier.
mm-hmm.
So I do want to ask you, when it comes to being an author, how do you how do you feel it um it is to get your book out there when you're first getting started?
What do you mean?
Like when you're first getting started and you are trying to get people to purchase your book and read your book, what
Mm-hmm.
are some of the pros and cons to that, I should say?
Oh, being self-published?
Yes.
Okay, so the pro to being self-published is that I'm controlling how the style of my writing. For example, if I wrote for Harlequin, they're very strict on how your book is laid out. They don't
Oh,
want you to kiss to a certain chapter. They don't want you to have sex to a certain chapter. They don't want this, and they're very like strict.
okay.
And so I might write for them someday, but the first few books I wanted to put out there, I wanted to not have so many limitations.
Right.
Not all publishers are as strict as they are, but all publishers have certain styles of writing they're looking for, certain things that they want and don't want. I wanted to do a book how I wanted, without limitations, full creative range on my terms the first few times. Eventually, I might be under contract, and I'm not going to say that's a bad thing, but I didn't want to be limited at first,
Right.
you know. So
Okay.
the downside to that is, if let's say I were to get a contract with Harlequin, the upside to that would be I would not have to pay for my editing. They would do the editing for me. Whereas
Okay.
now I have to pay for the editing, and which can get it pricey. It's
Right.
hundreds of dollars per book for me to get them edited, because you pay per word. Uh,
Oh,
yeah. So
ooh,
yeah. So it gets pricey fast, but I look at like I'm investing in myself. I want to put my best foot forward. I want my books to be polished and edited and professional. And then I also pay for like my book covers. So like with Harlequin, I'd be restricted. It wouldn't be as creative. I would have to follow their formula, but they would, I wouldn't have to pay for my book cover. I wouldn't have to pay for editing. But it's still a hard market to break, to get to be a bestseller or even anywhere near that range. Is extremely difficult because it's so saturated. It's the most saturated genre of writing is romance. So
okay.
either
I
way, it's going
believe
to be
though,
difficult.
I'm gonna correct you there. In saturation, there is opportunity. I learned
Right.
this a few weeks ago, because I used to think the same thing. Because I sell waist trainers. I'm a health and wellness coach. The market right now is saturated. It's one of the fastest moving industries right now, in
Is
the
it?
world. Okay,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
where there is saturation, there's opportunity. Because think about it. I used to want to be an inventor. I wanted to create my own products and I wanted to sell that. But think about how hard it is to sell something that there is no market for yet. Or maybe
Right.
that there's a
Right.
market for, but it's already like it's never been done before, so people don't like unfamiliar. You know what I mean? They're kind of
Right.
stuck in their ways of how they like to do things. So when you think of it, always think that saturation is an opportunity, because you know where to find the customers. You know where to find the market that you need to sell to.
Mm-hmm.
What it boils down to is actually uh, doing the work to network and build those relationships with those people. In this age of social media, we can't just like sell things anymore. You have to kind of like build relationships with people and talk to them and say, hey, how are you? What's going on in your life? They want to feel connected to you in some way before they hand you their dollars, before
Mm-hmm.
they hand you their coins. And
Right.
so
Right. Right.
really it boils down to that. Facebook groups, Instagram pages, Instagram hashtags, things like that. Ways that you like, I'm not sure if TikTok might even be a good platform for you if you wanted to, read your book on TikTok live. People like
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that these days.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So um I just felt the need to kind of touch on that because I was feeling that way at some point, that it was like oversaturated and whatnot. No, that's where the money is. We need to tap in. That's
Mm-hmm.
where, and that is where the people that want to read and want to listen are. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So if I can do anything to help, I will.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. I think we're very helpful to each other.
Yes, I do want to go ahead and ask you if there's any tips or advice that you would like to give to our viewers, and then also leave us with your social media information. Okay.
Yeah. Hold on a second. He's with me. Yeah. I'm just telling my boyfriend the dog's with me.
Oh, it's okay.
Sorry. So what was the question again?
I wanted you to leave our viewers with any tips or tricks that you may have that they could benefit from as being an author, or anything that they should be looking forward to if they were to read your book.
Um, so as far as being an author, I, in today's world, you have to be on social media, of course. Like, what I was going to say is that if anybody wanted my social media links or any information about my books, they can send me an email at colleen_grn@yahoo.com, and I will send them the links if they would like. Just put in the subject of the email, send me your author links, and I'll do that. And then I'm on Facebook with an author page. And also, I will send you links to that. Just shoot me an email and I'll do that. And then also have you put that on your thing too, my links, like
Okay.
you said, But so yeah, as an author, you need to be on social media. I've gotten pretty good at Facebook over the years, just doing videos and doing posts and learning how to say things and entice people. I've done live book readings videos on it, which people seem to like. I've done invite people to an event, do a live book reading, give away a prize, stuff like that.
Okay.
So you have to get kind of creative with it. I have heard do 2 or 3 things well instead of trying to do everything. So what I focus on, what?
I second that.
Yeah.
I second that.
So for example, I do Facebook pretty well, and I also have an author newsletter, which I'll give you links to that as well too to post. And my author newsletter, I do need to work on a little bit more, but I do have plans to do that in the works. So, the 2 things I'm choosing is Facebook, email newsletters, and then of course the writing itself, writing the books. And then I
Right.
also recommend everybody gets a good editor to work with. It's very critical that your books are polished. Every book, I mean, I would almost be willing to bet my life that any book you pick up is going to have one typo, no matter how many editors looked at it. Because it's extremely hard to catch every comma, every misspelled word, every, thing. I mean, it's just, there's books that multiple editors look at big publishing houses and they still miss things.
Right.
So you're gonna, no matter what book you pick up, there might be 1 or 2 or 3 little typos, but that isn't bad. And most people won't even notice them.
Right.
So, I'm just saying, put your best foot forward, find an editor that you would love to work with. Like I said, I recommend Red Adept Editing. I'll also send you the link to that so I can share that. They have different packages you can pick. And, depending on how much editing you need, it costs more. But I don't want to, it's too long to get into all that, but I will send you the link. And then I didn't know if I had time to read a little section from City in the Middle.
If you would like to, they're more than welcome to.
Okay. I mean,
Then
it's pretty short. So,
okay.
okay. So this is from City in the Middle. This is from Fiona, who is Amber's roommate. Amber's roommate's boyfriend's name is Cam. And so this is from his point of view. I sat by Fiona's side at the hospital, waiting for her to be released. My cell buzzed. I saw my boss's number. Damn, I had to answer it. I stepped out of the room to talk. After I said hello, he gave me a direct order, then hung up. I needed to go to the garage. Business came first, always and above all else. I hated that I had to leave Fiona when she needed me more than ever. I arranged for Tony to give Fiona a ride when she was released. Tony offered for her to stay at his father's house after I explained why Fiona couldn't go home. I accepted his generosity. I drove to New Jersey. On the way, I picked up a spare key from a coworker since the garage at the used car dealership had closed. Ever since the owner of the dealership couldn't pay back the loan on his advance from the Mancini family, my family, he was forever in debt to us. He had been informed earlier that I was to have full access to his facility until further notice. I stopped at my place to change into a t-shirt with a work shirt over it. Within the hour, I arrived at the garage, unlocked the door, and stepped inside.
Okay.
So
Well,
as you can tell, Cam has connections in the mafia world from that
Yes.
little part. So my books have a lot of twists and turns to the plot,
Okay.
which will, of course, engage the reader, keep them to keep reading, turning the pages. So both books, my writing style is, I would say, it's intense with a lot of plots, twists and turns, and it's romantic suspense. That that in a nutshell is my books. So
Okay. Well, thank you so much for reading that for us. I really enjoyed this conversation with you about, becoming a self-published author and being an author of suspenseful romantic novels. It's definitely an interesting topic. I would like for you to go ahead and leave our listeners and viewers with your social media information so
okay.
that they can find you.
Okay, so I am on Facebook, I should say. I am going to look it up because I want to tell you what it's called exactly, but I have to kind of scroll off this view of me. So if
Uh,
that's too distracting, I won't do that.
Okay, no worries. We'll just put it in the description, and that'll
Yeah,
make it a little bit more seamless.
yeah.
So, we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up. I just want to thank you again for coming to the Lux conversation and having this amazing conversation with me. I do want to end this. I'm doing something new with affirmations, and I'm just doing random affirmations. So if you'll just repeat after me,
Okay.
I am powerful.
I am powerful.
I am beautiful.
I am beautiful.
And I am me.
I am me.
Okay, wonderful. So thank you so much for tuning into the Lux Conversation. I would like for you to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, the Lux Conversation with Jacqueline Chyi. You can like and subscribe on YouTube. Please share this with someone who is looking towards being an author or just wants to read a suspenseful romantic novel. I know that there are a ton of people out there that love those books, and look for our next episode on Monday. You have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Jacqueline. I just
Yes.
wanted to I just wanted to thank you for having me on the podcast.
Oh, you are
So
so
thank you
welcome.
so much. And I too enjoy our conversations. So
Yes.
yeah.
Alrighty, girl. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
You too.
I'm gonna go ahead and close it.